friends, I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, also Omnisci on YouTube, and today I'm answering a question for RPGaDay 2022. Today is the 19th, so it is the 19th day of questions for August of this year, and the question is, why has your favorite game stayed with you? So I'm going to answer this in two ways, because quite honestly, my heart is divided. By amount of play, you would say that my favorite game is Dungeons & Dragons. I've played it more than any other game in all of its different editions. I've played a full year of BECME. I've played several years of 2nd edition D&D, several years of 3rd edition D&D, about a half a year maybe of 4th edition D&D, and now we're on to 3 or 4 years of 5th edition D&D. I played a lot of D&D is what I'm getting at here. I played some about a year and a half of AD&D as well. And I just ordered chainmail, so I'm gonna actually take a crack at original Dungeons & Dragons at some point, which could be kind of interesting, I think. In small doses, not even going to propose setting up a lengthy campaign in 0 edition D&D. There's a reason why games evolve, after all. So why? Why do I play so much D&D? Well, quite honestly, fantasy is a siren's call. It's hard to get past. It's great at dodging the trials and travails of the modern age. Your characters get powerful, you can change the world, you can go on quests that save the world or save a city or a nation. When you get more powerful, you can tip your hand and do miraculous things. Your characters, it's a power fantasy. It's awesome for that. You can tell really rich and engaging stories from a variety of backdrops. The Forgotten Realms has certainly become one of our favorites since, let's face it, Wizards of the Coast, that's what they're emphasizing, so those materials are out there, and if I want to do a minimum of changing things around to fit a particular world, Forgotten Realms is a fine world. It's beautiful, it's familiar, it's very accessible, so we're fine with it. But if I wanted to go to Greyhawk, I'm extremely familiar with Greyhawk, or if I wanted to do my own customized world. My homebrew world? Which one? I've got 4 of them that I can use with Dungeons & Dragons that I've got material for, even if some of it is still conceptual. I still, have tons that I can do. I will never run out of ideas for what to do in Dungeons & Dragons. I am as familiar with it as I am with any role-playing game. Am I the most schooled in Dungeons & Dragons? No. There are plenty of people who can absolutely tie me in knots when in D&D trivia or rules lawyership. That's fine. But I can tell a damn good story with Dungeons & Dragons. I can master a large group of people. I can walk new people through who've never picked up a 20-sided die and let them play the game and just forget about rules, because I can make all of that work in the background. They just have to tell me what they want their characters to do. I can cater to the most hardcore tactical group who wants to go through a dungeon like SEAL Team 6, dissecting encounters and absolutely leveraging their skills and talents to shred the enemy. Absolutely. I can play with lots of miniatures and 3D dungeoning, or I can play with absolutely nothing and it doesn't cause fall off. This I can do. In Dungeons & Dragons, why is it stuck around? I'm really good at it. I do D&D just fine, and it's familiar to me. And like a well-worn shirt, you go back to what you know and what you like and what you know your players like. And my players like Dungeons & Dragons and have for a long, long time. And that's a good thing, knowing what your players like, letting them be comfortable. They love the power fantasy too. And when I'm running the game, they get to feel powerful. They get to start off feeling scared and fragile, being low level, and then they work and work and work and work, and eventually they earn their way up to becoming true heroes. Or sort of heroes, depending on their wants and the direction they see their characters going. But it's a great milieu for role-playing, yeah, and I enjoy it immensely. Now, does this mean that, that's all I ever want to play? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you this right now. I've been playing so much Dungeons & Dragons that I'm aching to do a different game. I am really aching to take some of these other games that I've had, even fantasy. Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. Yeah, I want to try that. Barbarians of Lemuria. Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a shot at that. Burning Wheel. I'm very interested in playing through the mechanics of that game. Or Dungeon World and taking a shot with the move sets and everything of Dungeon World. I would love to take a crack at a lot of these games. So, just because I like one and I've done a lot of that does not mean it's all I'm interested in by a long shot. And anybody who's ever seen my videos knows this. I encourage a plethora of role-playing games because it makes you a better gamer. It makes you understand rules that are coming from different areas and avenues of play, and generally makes you better. But here's the kicker. Dungeons & Dragons is not my favorite game. It's the game my players love. It's the game they absolutely cry out for when what do you guys want to play? Dungeons & Dragons will always keep coming up because that's a game they're comfortable with and they enjoy the ride. They trust me to put together encounters that they can manage and they're still entertaining, and yeah, that's something they really like. But honestly, if we're being completely honest, there's a number of things about Dungeons & Dragons that really turn me off. For instance, I hate builds. I hate the feeling of people structuring characters so that they're just going to be overwhelmingly powerful to beat the system. I'm bored by things like that. That doesn't excite me. And it's actually a pretty big turnoff for me that I've got a group that seems several people are just evolving into what can hit the most and hardest and whatever. Okay, you have pretty much knocked most of my interest in this campaign out, but we'll keep going with it. Whereas a game like, say, GURPS. GURPS is what I'm going to throw out there as my favorite. Even though I've played little of it compared to several of my games. Obviously, Dungeons & Dragons I've played a lot more. Werewolf, Vampire, I've played a lot more than I have GURPS. Shadowrun I've played more than I've played GURPS. Star Wars, by a long shot, I've played more than I've played GURPS. Even... Oh, no, I can say I've played more GURPS than Paranoia. But yeah, there's a lot of games that I played more, but I love GURPS as its core rules and all that I can do with it. I love the system's flexibility. I love its realism and how it simulates reality. It isn't cumbersome and in your face. It's organic and feels like it's part of a well-conceived overall game engine. And I've always respected that. And I want to play more of that. Will I in the near future? Not the terribly near future, but it's kind of a destination game I've got. So, some point in the future we're going to try for that. But as of right now, that's kind of what I hold out there as my favorite game. And why has it been? Because it's kind of... Playing a campaign of GURPS is kind of my gaming white whale. It's something I will pursue and keep an eyesight of, but I don't know if I'll ever quite reach it. Just some people don't have a lot of patience with the slower progression, where it's not like rats at a feeder bar, you hit a level and then boom, all of your numbers get bigger and you feel cooler, and it doesn't have that. So you have to have a group that is committed to the long haul and watching the characters slowly develop as they try things and get better with experience in the things they are using, rather than just everything gets better. And yeah, I really want to do that at some point. I think it would be a lot of fun to do another GURPS campaign. So that is my closet favorite game. And someday, yes, I will be running that campaign if I get a chance. So, at any rate, that's my answer to the question, why, and I think I've more than illustrated the reasons why I love these games and have kept them around. Truth be told, I kept every game I've ever had around. I've never had a reason to get rid of a game system because all of them are a part of my overall gaming collection in one sense, but also a collection of more than just physical materials, a collection of my gamer skills and knowledge and experience, of my rules collective, how I understand game theory to work. All these games have some facet of that, and keeping them as reference tools, even if I rarely play some of them, like, you know, first edition Shadowrun. If I had my druthers to play the game that I'd want to, I'd probably run 5th edition or 6th edition Shadowrun. I find that the evolution makes for an easier and more complete game. Nice narrative elements to it as well. But I'll keep the 1st edition around because, number one, I love to read the books, and number two, there's something that they were reaching for in that game design. It's a little clunky, yeah, but you could still read between the lines and see what they were trying for, the reasons why they made some of those game decisions, even if they veered away from more accurately representing the simulating the world. But they did them for different reasons, and that's something that's admirable in its own way, that you can look at it and see it as kind of like a piece of art. It may not be the most practical sometimes, but it still has a value in and of itself. So that's my answer. Hopefully it's a good one for you. If you like these, feel free to go to RPGaDay and get the questions yourself if you want to make videos like this. Otherwise, if these are, you know, something that inspired you in some way, you feel like leaving a comment, please feel free. I would love to respond to your comments, and thank you for watching my video. If you want to take it a step farther and go to my Facebook group, Dungeon Tutor, we can have a discussion about it, or you might inspire a video in the near future. So, whichever way, that's great. I do thank you for joining me. You keep me going with these videos, and I do appreciate it. I know that there's at least a few people out there who love the RPGaDay videos and look forward to seeing them. So, thank you, all of you, very much. Until that time, I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, or Omnisci, and thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you at the next RPGaDay video. Until then, though, farewell.